This is the moment Yosten Mosquera attempts to dispose of the dismembered remains of civil partners, Albert Alfonso, 62, and Paul Longworth, 71, on July 8, 2024. After stabbing, brutalizing, and decapitating the couple, Mosquera froze their remains and transported them in suitcases to the Clifton Suspension Bridge in Bristol. But he didn't plan on being spotted by a passing cyclist, as a trail of blood followed behind him.
What's the emergency?
Right, as we're going to need some police up here quite urgently, I think. We had a gentleman up here who was dragging a case behind him. The case of the wheels are broken and what have you. You said there's car parts and what have you. We've got to be funny. The case is broken and it looks like it's really heavy and there's blood coming out of it.
2 days earlier, Mosquera, a Colombian porn actor, had brutally killed Alfonso Longworth in their London home. The murders weren't just a crime of passion, they were meticulously planned. Mosquera, who had been staying with the couple, methodically slaughtered them, then chopped up their bodies. They had met him years prior through a series of sordid extreme sex videos and transactions of money and degradation. It was a relationship built on dark exchanges and exploitation, but it soon spiraled into something far worse. The killings weren't random. Mosquera had been preparing for this moment for months. He knew everything about his victims. He had access to their finances, their property, and their vulnerabilities. Just days before the murders, Mosquera was seen researching properties for sale in Colombia, where he came from. He was eyeing their £400,000 London home, and he planned to claim it as his own. He was also actively looking for tools that would assist in his plans: a chest freezer and an industrial blender. On July 8th, Mosquera, who had spent time with the couple in both London and Colombia, struck. He killed Paul Longworth first, smashing his skull with 9 hammer blows before stuffing his body under the bed. Hours later, Albert Alfonso returned home from the gym, unaware of the death that had already taken place. Mosquera led him to the bedroom under the pretense of making a sex video, then savagely stabbed him 13 times in a brutal attack that was captured on camera. As he stabbed him, he asked Albert, "Do you like it?" As Albert bled out on the floor, Mosquera, with a calmness that defied logic, began to sing and dance. He then accessed Albert's computer, attempting to transfer money from his bank account, all while his victim lay dying just feet away. The cold efficiency of his actions was unsettling. It wasn't a crime of passion. It was a calculated execution. After the murders, Mosquera dismembered both victims' bodies, packing them into suitcases and the chest freezer he had found on Facebook Marketplace. He then withdrew hundreds of pounds from Albert's bank accounts and made false claims to his boss about Albert traveling to Costa Rica. The planning was almost perfect. He then hired a van and traveled 116 miles from London to Bristol, the suitcases containing the dismembered bodies of the men. His original plan was to throw the remains over the Clifton Suspension Bridge into the Avon Gorge below. But that's where things went wrong. As Mosquera struggled with the heavy suitcases on the bridge, a cyclist, Douglas Cunningham, stopped to ask if he needed help. It was a question that would change everything. When Cunningham saw blood oozing from the suitcase, Mosquera panicked and ran, dropping the suitcases and leaving a trail of red behind him. Cunningham immediately reported the incident to the authorities, and what they found was nothing short of horrifying. When police arrived at the scene, they opened the suitcases and discovered the torsos of 2 dismembered bodies. The gruesome find led them back to Shepherd's Bush, where they traced Mosquera's movements to the victim's home. Inside, they found more blood and a chest freezer containing the severed heads of Albert and Paul. The investigation escalated quickly, with police piecing together CCTV footage and tracking Mosquera's movements through his phone. He had attempted to flee, but his time on the run was short-lived. Just days later, Mosquera was found at Bristol Temple Mead Station, still wearing the same blood-stained clothes, his phone on and his location known. As Mosquera faced the reality of being caught, his defense was as disturbing as the crimes he had committed. He tried to claim that Albert had killed Paul first, and that he had killed Albert in self-defense. But the evidence was clear, and the jury was unconvinced. Mosquera had been careful in his planning, but he underestimated the determination of the police. What motivated him to commit such brutal acts? Was it the money? Control? Police believe that Mosquera, who had spent years performing degrading sexual acts on video, may have been seeking more than just financial gain. The extreme nature of the murders suggests that this wasn't just about money. It was about dominance, control, and a disturbing desire to erase his victims from existence. Mosquera's search history also revealed an unsettling fascination with serial killers, particularly those who had become infamous for their brutal, methodical killings. Authorities uncovered that he had searched terms such as serial killers of London and Jack the Ripper film. Was Mosquera drawing inspiration from such figures, or was he simply indulging in a morbid curiosity? Either way, these searches were an eerie window into the mind of a man preparing to carry out his own gruesome acts. Even now, detectives are left with unanswered questions. Why did Mosquera go to such lengths to dismember the bodies and transport them to Bristol? Was he trying to stage the perfect murder? Or was he simply trying to leave no trace of his victims behind? The theory that Mosquera may have had a darker history, possibly tied to criminal organizations in Colombia, looms in the background. But despite extensive investigations in Colombia, nothing has surfaced to suggest that Mosquera was involved in any previous crimes before this brutal double murder. At trial, the jury deliberated for only 5 hours before returning a guilty verdict on both counts of murder. It was a swift decision, one that reflected the strength of the evidence against him. As the verdict was read out, Mosquera remained emotionless. On October 24th, Jostin Mosquera will face a life sentence in prison. The severity of his actions, ranging from the brutal murder of 2 elderly men to the dismemberment and attempted disposal of their bodies, has left little room for leniency. The court has made it clear that Mosquera's actions were so extreme, so depraved, that he will spend the rest of his life behind bars. Mosquera's story is a frightening tale of deceit, brutality, and a twisted need for control. But the question remains, was this his first crime or just the one that got him caught?